It's not just about the money, it's also the peace of mind, the peace of your heart, and finding meaningful work.
You know what? I would advise you for the first 100 videos, don't look at just look at your content. Every time you put out content, it should be better than the past or the previous content that you put out. Ganun lang, focus on improving your content. And then you'll get to that point later on that you can now look at metrics.
I look at everything in the resume. I read it from top to bottom. I look at the structure. I look at grammatical mistakes, the experience, and what they've done and the wording. So I not necessary to put a photograph in there. Sometimes the photograph will put people off.
And then yun, it's okay, keep trying. So kung hindi man tayo natanggap for this project or for this job, it's not a no, don't be discouraged. Better opportunities are out there. We just need to always improve our craft, and the right client na match sa ating skills and expertise will trust and hire us.
Regardless of age, regardless of position, regardless of the business we happen to be in, all of us need to understand the importance of branding. We are CEOs of our own companies called Me Inc. And to be in business today, our most important job is to be head marketer for the brand called you.
Pag may nag-pop up, huwag yung kiklik, close nyo. Wala, pag click mo ng close button sa taas, may script pala yun, o may naka-hidden na malicious code doon. Pag click mo ng close, mag-i-install din. Diba? So, ang ibang way doon is i-terminate mo siya sa task manager.
Just a reminder for everyone to never stop learning and develop a passion for learning. And more time with your loved ones. Do not spend more time in things that don't add value to your life. Also remember that it's not all about the money. Do not be blinded by 6-digit figure income teachings. Prioritize having a value and growth mindset instead of money mindset. Be willing to start small, appreciate every small things in life, and be willing to share your skills for free because that's how I started. Thank you so much for supporting Excel Hub, for supporting me and my advocacies.
And we are live. Hi guys, good evening everyone. It's another fruitful Saturday here with Excel Hub. So lahat dyan sa mga team live, we are both live in Facebook and YouTube. So go ahead guys, share this free webinar. Maganda yung topic natin. It's very interesting because we get to see or we get to hear clients' perspective about online jobs. And yan. So hello guys. Again, share lang tayo. Good evening everyone sa mga Team Live. Always use the hashtag Team Live, and for Team Replay, hashtag Team Replay. So hi there. Hi Coach Roxy.
Hi. Hi, Christina. Hi, Han. How are you guys?
Hello, everybody.
All right.
Hi
So we
there.
are. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we are actually excited to have Christina. And Christina, thank you so much for granting our request to have a webinar with us. How are you doing, Christina?
I'm doing well, thank you. First of all, I also want to thank you for inviting me. This is very much as exciting to me as I hope it's exciting for you and everyone else joining us today.
All right. So let me just introduce our speaker for today. Christina Osborne is the founder of Kita Kita Virtual Business Solutions. She's a Filipina from Bacolod, guys. Hello sa mga taga Bacolod. Hello. All right. So she's a property investor, and she started out working for interior designs firms in the UK from 2006. So that's actually the website. We're going to be showing you guys the page, the LinkedIn account of Christina later, if in case you would like to connect with her. Hi, Christina. Please introduce yourself. Give us an idea about your background and exciting news about your agency, please. Thank you.
Great. Yes, I'd be delighted. So as I was introduced, my name is Christina. I'm originally from Bacolod in the Philippines. I moved to the UK in 2006, originally to work for interior design firms. So that's really where I started. And I worked for a firm in London for about 6 years. And then I quit my job there to move to Cambridge and work for another interior designer. And eventually, what I wanted to do was not work as an interior designer for a firm, but work as a property investor and property developer. And that started from about 2013. In the UK, there's lots of property investor meetings where you meet lots of other investors. And I was constantly surprised when lots of landlords would approach me, seeing that I don't look like them. And they ask me where I'm from, and I say I'm from the Philippines. And a lot of them, not plenty in the beginning, but over the years, I would notice that more and more would come up to me and say, "Oh, you're from the Philippines. Do you know my VA is from the Philippines?" Or I know another landlord who's got a VA from the Philippines. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. And then eventually they'd soon start asking me, well, can you help me find a VA in the Philippines? So I actually started very much so informally in the beginning by just networking and people asking me, can you help me find a VA from the Philippines? And, I just tap into my own networks from Facebook, from family and friends, and just asking them, well, do you know anyone who's looking for work? So it started off just very informally, doing it for free, and just helping people out, connecting my network from the Philippines to my network of landlords in the UK. Eventually, I thought, I think, you know what? I can make a business out of this. And that's how it started, formally at the start of lockdown, because I had a secondary business, which was wedding photography, which unfortunately, due to the pandemic, things stopped working on that side, and I had to quickly find something else to do and another business to make money from. And that's when I said, I've been doing this for many years. I think it's time to just make this into a formal business operation. And that's how Kita Kita started. That's it. That's my introduction.
All right. So, how did I know Kita Kita? If you remember Camille Mananes.
Yes.
So, yes, she's my sibling, youngest. So, she actually shared that she got a job from Kita Kita. So, I was actually very excited to hear that, and I shared it with my class. And then I think some of my students started sending you application, and that's how Princess got hired as well.
Yes, I did start getting lots of applications from courtesy of your training services, which I'm really grateful for.
Okay, how's Camille's and Princess performance so far?
I think they're very invaluable to their own respective clients. They provide so much value, and their clients are still thanking me to this day.
That's amazing news. Okay, I think Han has some questions.
So I think your mic is muted.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. So, since of course 2020 pandemic started, so ever since the pandemic started, are there any major changes with the business? Did it boom or did it go low?
In my particular experience, since I've only started doing it formally at the start of the pandemic, my experience is that there was an increase in requests, but only because now that I did it formally and then I opened and announced my services to the rest of my network, that's when the inquiries started coming in. But I believe from an objective point of view, the pandemic had opportunities for work from home and for remote working in general. And so that, I think, in that sense, the industry has opened up to more opportunities. But at the same time, the situation where we're all in the world, not just in the UK or in the Philippines, there's unfortunately a lot of businesses that have ceased to operate or are not doing so profitably, and so they've had to cut corners. So it's a case of, I think there's good things that has happened and are happening, and bad things that have happened and are happening. There's and not all bad things mean bad things in all areas. So, for example, in the UK, there's lots of people who have lost their jobs, but businesses still need to operate. And so they've, instead of hiring from the UK staff that were just going to work from home anyway, businesses have now started looking uh, for ways in which to make things less costly for them. And so this is when they'd be hiring virtual assistants from the Philippines or outsource more cheaply from the Philippines. So it's hard to say for sure. I think we're in this situation for the long run. I don't think this is going to change much for the next 12, even 24 months ahead of us. And also the political climate in the UK, and I just have to mention this. I know you didn't really specifically ask about that, but the political climate in the UK is again going to affect what's going to happen in this industry in the next 12 months, especially in the next 3 to 6 months. If for those of you who may, occasionally check the news in the UK, where we will be going through Brexit from January, and just the consensus of industry leaders and business groups is that it's going to affect the UK economically. And so two things are going to happen. One is, once again, on top of COVID, Brexit will lead to businesses not going to do so well. And in fact, maybe some or a lot of businesses will be closing. And that would mean, in a way, that is going to affect chances of virtual assistants finding businesses to work for in the UK. There are industries that will win and there are industries that will suffer terribly. But whichever industry you're looking at, then you're also looking at exchange rates being affected. And so just a tip, I would, for Filipinos, insist that you be paid in pesos rather than in a foreign currency, in pounds. Just because if your contract is in sterling, that's Great British pounds, Great Britain, yes, GBP, Great British pounds. And so that would mean that might translate to like lower pay for you. Anyhow, I hope that helps.
Yes, that really
All
helps.
right.
Actually, yeah, actually both UK and US is going through something when it comes to their political environment. So we'll see, right? What will happen, especially in the US. It's happening this year, and hopefully we get to recover, and of course we get to see some benefits. Same with UK. So thank you for that, Christina.
No problem.
All right. So speaking of that, Christina, you mentioned earlier about the industries that are actually affected by the pandemic. What are the industries that are continuously hiring virtual assistants, and what are the industries that are greatly affected by the pandemic?
Thank you very much for that question. I think I'll start with industries that will be very much affected negatively by the pandemic. I think we have already seen it's common both in the Philippines and the UK, certainly industries that are related to events and hospitality, because just unfortunately, those are the things that have no replacement pretty much in terms of restrictions when it comes to measures that our own individual governments need to impose on the country in order to stop the spread of the virus and contain further spread of the virus. And so that would be cinemas will be closing down, any industries related to like holidays and travel and sort of leisure activities. Things unfortunately a lot of things have to be moved online. And on that note, there are industries that will flourish still. I can't speak for an infinite number of industries out there and can't say for sure whether this or that will survive. But what I know for sure that because I work in an industry that property investment will be an industry that will be thriving in the UK. Whether you're looking at the pandemic and Brexit ahead. The reason being because property investors, and I'm sorry to say this, they can profit from the downturn because house prices will be expected to crash. So as long as these are investors that don't need to sell and do not have properties in sectors and markets that will see their income being greatly affected, like, for example, commercial properties like offices and commercial properties like shopping centers. As long as these are properties that are expected to still flourish, and these are generally residential properties, then the house market and price crash is actually beneficial for them because this will be the time that they will be buying more properties because this is like the sale opportunity for them. Lots of houses will be at a discount, and that means as long as they're not in the position of needing to sell, but in the position of being able to buy more properties, then this is definitely an industry that will still be thriving through the pandemic and Brexit and beyond. And therefore, if those of you who are interested in working in this industry, there's specific skills that you might need to learn beforehand before you can apply for that. Oh, is this the next
Okay.
question?
Yes, since those are the industries that will be continuously hiring, what are the field of expertise? Like with the you mentioned with the properties, right? So it's more on appointment setters, or so what other careers or what other positions are there available as a virtual assistant?
Okay, so there will still be, in general, the need for admin virtual assistants. So this is the most, shall we say, basic or lowest entry level of virtual assistants that UK small businesses will be looking for. But this also means that if there's a bell curve of like demand and number of applicants sending in their resumes, then if it's a bell curve, the admin positions will be in the kind of that peak. So you will have lots of competition because it's like the lowest entry level, and therefore you'll have to think, right? Okay, so if I have no experience working as a virtual assistant, then this is most likely where you can enter and get your foot in the door. So if you start off as an admin virtual assistant, there will be more competition from other applicants, but there will be less hindrance to you, getting in and finding work, if that helps. If you wanted me to specifically say and answer a question about VAs for landlords and property investors, I would say there's a very specific set of skills and platforms and softwares and websites and all that you need to have familiarity with. I'd be happy to run another focused training session with Excel Hub on that one, because there's too many for me to mention here. And I would say it will be different from real estate in America, for example, and even in the Philippines. In the UK, it's quite specific, and I'd be happy to run a separate session on that one.
Wow, exciting news, guys. So let's watch out for that. We're excited to hear that, Christina. You also mentioned in the past that you are in need of some lead generation specialists as well. Would you be able to elaborate on that? What kind of leads are we specifically looking for?
Okay, so if it's the general term lead generation, it just simply means that any business that is running needs to have a source of leads coming in. So if it's a traditional shop in a mall or a high street, then the lead generation is simply letting people through the door, and you've got footfall. That's, if there's 1,000 people walking in front of your store, and then you manage to somehow attract 500 people to walk into your store, not just walk in front of your store. So you've managed to generate 500 leads. So that's simply what lead generation means. Now, as a lead generation virtual assistant, and there are lots of opportunities out there, and I do get constant inquiries from potential clients. Have you got lead generation VAs? There are two meanings, and I would say definition for that. One is simply an admin who will help the business, name and list down the people who are walking through that door. So they are simply admin virtual assistants, because what they do is they put data entry, or they scrape data out of a pool of people or businesses that they can sell to. So this could be on LinkedIn, for example. They can use Sales Navigator to say, can you find me all the women business coaches who live in Scotland, for example. And if that's the instruction, then the lead generation virtual assistant will simply use LinkedIn to then scrape all that data and enter it into a CRM software somewhere, and then present it back to the client. So that kind of lead generation virtual assistant is simply an admin who's been given an instruction to scrape data and put that data in a database. Another kind of lead generation virtual assistant is someone who's got a marketing background. So a marketing lead generation VA will, instead of just being given instruction, will be given the opportunity by the client to actually take the reins in terms of what can we do to generate leads. So this would, for example, be a VA who knows marketing jargon, who knows marketing specific activities to propose to the client. So, for example, the marketing VA might say, I think we need to run a campaign on Facebook. It could be, I don't know, a 5-day challenge on Facebook. And the client will most likely have no idea how to do that. The client will, in fact, be staring at you for more information and instruction. So in this way, it's not the client who's giving you the orders and the direction and instructions. It's you who's proposing to the client, we need to do this, we need to run this campaign, we need to follow this hashtag, we need to do this on Instagram, we need to do this on YouTube. So you're the one proposing. And as you can tell, one will earn more than the other. So in terms of skills, you could do yourself a lot of favor to just maybe take on a marketing course, just so you have, you have a better advantage than someone who is a lead generation virtual assistant, but is only doing the admin side of lead generation rather than actively bringing in and generating the leads for the client. I hope that helps.
Yeah, yes, that really helps. So yeah, so let's get to know how the client selects, or what is the process. So what are the UK clients looking for when it comes to hiring? Are they more on work ethics, attitude, skills, or work
This is a
experience?
great question. If when I talk to my clients, the sorry, when I talk to potential clients, so these are people who haven't yet been sold by whatever sales pitch I've got for them, their biggest concern with hiring Filipino VAs is that they've heard or they've experienced, or someone has not convinced them but planted a seed of doubt in their head why they shouldn't be hiring a Filipino VA, is because of stories of Filipino VAs disappearing. And I'm pretty sure you've heard, maybe, I don't know, you look surprised, so maybe you've not heard this, but if you go on YouTube and you just type in, why do Filipino VAs disappear, or disappearing Filipino VAs, it is a common experience. So I'm going to talk about that very briefly, but then also talk about then, if you don't want to be a disappearing Filipino VA, what kind of attitude and work ethic do you need to have instead? So the disappearing Filipino VAs, right? I'll talk about that briefly now. It turns out, I think that it stems from the fact that Filipinos are not forthcoming in communicating with their client, their employer. It's not technically an employer relationship, but I'll just refer to that for simplicity's sake. Their employer, in terms of how they feel about their workload, how they feel about the level of challenge that they're being given. Maybe it's too easy, so they're not motivated, or maybe it's too hard, and so they just simply never show up again at work. So this is the existence of the disappearing Filipino VA. Now, in my experience so far, knock on wood, I've not had a disappearing VA, so thank you very much. But we need, as Filipinos, we all need to change this we need to change this reputation, okay? And the way to do that is I wrote it down just because I think this is super important. And so I thought, look, you know what, I need to write this down so that I don't miss a point. First of all, the qualities of a VA that will help us all remove this not so pleasant reputation is that we need to be responsive. As a VA, you have to understand that you are not in the same room as your client. And so the client, unless you're online, unless you're replying to emails, unless you're replying to messages, the client doesn't know where you are and how to get in touch with you. And so that's the very first thing. That's the most important thing is we need to be responsive. This is not the same as responsible. Responsive literally means, you know, when you're chatting with someone and you can see the notification that your message has been read and seen, but it takes them like 2 days or even 2 hours to respond. Yun ang responsiveness.
Yes.
So, like, if you're expected to be online and working for the client because the client needs to be communicating with you and you're not there, you're not responding, that will lead to frustration with the client. Okay. Second, you need to be trustworthy. Again, we have to, I know I keep repeating this, but you have to understand that you are not even, you're not in the same room and you're not in the same country. In most likelihood, especially in this pandemic, you will never see each other in person. Probably a year ago or 2 years from now, there will be an opportunity for the client to say, hey, you know what? I'll take a vacation in the Philippines. I'll fly over there and I'll meet my VA. That's just not possible right now. And even without the pandemic, it's still very unlikely that the client will, you know, make a trip all the way to the Philippines to meet you. So this concept of trust and being trustworthy is paramount because you need to the client needs to not feel vulnerable for trusting someone all the way halfway across the globe. You will be given passwords. You will be given access to a database of sensitive information. You will be given access to clients' names and addresses and information. And the client is basically trusting you that you will not do anything with this information that you've been given in trust. Okay, so there is absolutely no way for the client to ensure that you will not tamper and do anything untoward or illegal with any of this information that he or she entrusted you with. There's only so much that this client can do. There's I don't know, like 2-factor authentication, for example, or the client can install some kind of surveillance software. But at the end of the day, it's almost completely blind trust and faith in the virtual assistant. Okay, so I can mitigate this for my clients by doing a background check, requesting and requiring an NBI clearance, but that doesn't really say, I mean, unfortunately, that doesn't, you know, it's not a 100% foolproof guarantee, right? So you just need to be responsive, trustworthy. And then the third is reliability. So I know they all more or less talk about the same thing, that the client needs to be able to trust you and rely on you. But it's, I just wanted to say it separately and enumerate it so that you can, shall we say, you can name it and specify and identify what these qualities are. Fourth is stability. Now, you think, what does stability have to do with working as a virtual assistant? Well, remember I mentioned disappearing virtual assistants. Sometimes there are personal situations that we go through in life. That means that we need to make changes. Like, for example, stability can refer to, well, are you someone who's in college maybe, and you might just still finding out what you want to do in your life, where you want to go. And so someone who's not clear about what they want to do with their lives may not be the best candidate in terms of stability. If you are going through personal difficulties in your life when it comes to, I don't know, family or relationships, this can affect your ability to stay in work for the client. So if you can imagine, I'm not talking about negatively about things that happen to people normally, like, for example, getting married or getting pregnant. These are not necessarily negative situations. As long as you can see that anything that might affect stability could lead to you, hopefully not disappearing in front of your client. Okay, so if you are going through changes and you expect that you're going through changes in your life, please, by all means, communicate with your client. Let them know, I'm graduating, or I'm getting married, or I'm separating, or whatever it is, or my mother's gotten ill and I need to go back to the province. Just you need to communicate, and that's actually my last quality or attitude, which is to always be open to communication, which is really difficult for us Filipinos because I think culturally we are not very forward and forthcoming. We tend to just keep quiet even though something's not making us happy. We're not the most assertive of cultures. So, but we need to just overcome that a bit. Or, as we say, we need to get over ourselves and just, act like the professional virtual assistants that we'd like the whole world to see as us. Thank you.
I think you've mentioned a lot of important points, Christina. Yeah, I would totally agree that being honest, having integrity, communicating with clients is very important. Because I think they would, based on my experience working as a freelancer, because I'm still a freelancer right now, they would totally understand. Sometimes if you like don't send an email for a couple of days, they would ask you, and they will ask normally how you're doing. Is there a problem? So I think you don't really have to wait for them to ask. You can basically let them know what's happening, and they're very understandable. Would you agree, Christina?
No, actually, you're absolutely right. You mentioned something there, which is super important, which is don't wait for the client to approach you and
Yes.
to give you instructions. You could, for example, remember you're 7 hours ahead of the UK.
Yes.
Even when it's lunchtime where you are, it's still super early here in the UK that the client's still asleep. So while you're having lunch, you can take a break and send an email to the client and say, for example, I'm online, I'm ready when you're ready. Even if it's as simple as that. And put yourself in the client's shoes. When you wake up in the morning and you check your emails, you see an email from your virtual assistant that says, I'm ready when you are.
Yes.
What do you want me to do today? So that's a really good attitude to have. Just be the super irreplaceable and super super. virtual assistant. I don't know what else to say about that. So just be there. Just
Yes.
put yourself forward and make them really appreciate you. That's it.
Yeah, so guys, you have to do the initiative. Let's say you are trying to beat a deadline and you can't make it, you have to let the client know so that they won't expect and they will totally give you an extension. I think we have a question from our viewers, Han.
Yes, we have here a question coming from Lawrence. Sorry, just
Yes.
okay for okay. Yes, is there a demand for general virtual assistants with bookkeeping and accounting background?
Yes, there always will be, because bookkeeping and accounting is always one of those skills in virtual assistants that can be done remotely. So any skill that does not require you to be in the same room as the client means that it can be outsourced to you, and bookkeeping is definitely one of them. I personally, in my clientele base, I don't have a lot of inquiries for bookkeeping and accounting skills, but you should be able to find, specialism or a specialty from a different platform. Maybe if you just go on LinkedIn and just type yourself bookkeeping services. Um, that's certainly a very valuable skill to have.
All right. Um, yeah, Christina just would like to let you know that majority of our followers are actually aspiring freelancers, and I think like 60% of them are newbies. When you say newbie, they're basically unemployed for quite some time, and some of them did not have any relevant job experience in the past or working in the office. Do you think there is an opportunity for them to start learning new things, have some apprenticeship, and eventually get an online job or a client from UK?
Uh, as I mentioned before, there's always going to be um, competition in the market, especially when it comes to just the lowest level entry for jobs, and that would include you as a newbie. If you're a newbie and you want to get in, what Roxy mentioned, do as much freelance work as you can possible. Of course, the downside of being a freelancer is you've got to hustle. If you don't look for a job, you're not going to get a job. Whereas for a VA who's employed, they literally don't need to do much in terms of looking for a job because they're on a salary basis. But then as a freelancer or as a newbie, that might be your only option for now. So I would get as much freelancing experience as possible. Um, uh, Train yourself, get on training to add to your skills, to differentiate you from other applicants who are just there to be a general admin VA. Like I mentioned earlier, you can take an online course on marketing or social media management, or SEOs and keywords, for example. That's it.
Yes, thank you for that. So yeah, so we've already heard what the clients are looking for, what are the qualities, and of course the possibilities or the job opportunities. So can you describe the hiring process for Kita Kita Virtual Business Solutions? So do you personally screen the applicants, or do you already have someone or one of your VAs do the screening?
So, my general process for hiring virtual assistants is a two-level screening process. So me as the agent, I review the applications that get sent in that I receive, and that's for me to kind of categorize uh, which group of virtual assistant this person is best suited for. So I've got three general categories, and that's admin VAs, and there's a creative VA. So creative VAs are VAs who've got Photoshop, video editing, um, uh, websites, management kind of skills. And then the third one would be marketing virtual assistant. Sometimes there can be an overlap uh, of these three categories, which is fine because small businesses, they don't have a budget to hire one of each category. So they might need one VA that's got, all three, for example, or a combination of two. So it's absolutely okay if you fall into more than one category. And then the second step is I then forward these applications as potential candidates to my clients, and then the process becomes that the client tells me who they want to interview, and then I leave the interview process itself to the client because I'm not the one who's going to hire these people, so I cannot be the one to select it for the client. The interview and selection process then is uh, is taken over by the client. So uh, whatever selection process this client has, if it's a simple one or two stage interview, or there's some exercise that the client needs this person to go through, or if there's an aptitude test, then I leave that to the client. So it's basically that's how it happens. And thank you very much for showing that on the screen. I think Roxy will send you guys a link to how to apply.
Yes.
And I do insist that you use my resume, my CV template, because then it gives my clients a uniform basis of selecting clients. So if it's exactly the same CV template, then the client can look at it side by side and say, okay, this person has got those experiences or skills, this person has them. And it makes it easier for my client to compare candidates side by side.
All right. Christina, are most of your clients small business owners, solopreneurs, or there are big companies as well?
All of them are small business owners and solopreneurs. If it were a big company, then they will not be hiring just one VA. So they'll actually more likely go to corporations or outfits in the Philippines that have, like 100 or thousands of VAs at their disposal. So this one is a lot more, shall we say, one-on-one and focused. So you will be working at most two bosses for two bosses, but in general, it's just one small company you'll be working for.
Okay. Thank you so much, Christina.
Yeah, so with that, since we already know the process of hiring, how much, or would you be able to give us an idea how much a VA can earn from these opportunities?
Okay, right now, for an admin virtual assistant, the average wage that a VA can expect for is around 25,000 pesos a month. It's not the highest out there, but you have to understand that, as I mentioned before, there's right now the exchange rate that is affecting how much businesses in the UK can afford to to pay VAs from the Philippines. The marketing VAs are the VAs that can command the highest monthly salary, anything from 40,000 upwards plus bonuses. The bonuses are negotiated between the client and the VA. So this I've that would depend on what the client is selling and what the prices of the products that he's selling. If it's a property investment or landlord who you're working for, then their profits are in the tens of thousands of pounds. And so you might be earning commissions in the anywhere between maybe 50 to 100 pounds per sale or per transaction, which is, it's quite a significant amount for you as a virtual assistant. But then it will be less frequent. There's less transactions, number of transactions, because you're talking about like a bigger price tag. Whereas for smaller commissions, you might be thinking, okay, you might be only earning £1 to £5 per transaction, but then there's the number of transactions is more frequent. So there's always a comparison situation here when looking at the bonuses. I must also mention that in the UK, and this might come as a surprise, the Filipinos, there's no such thing as a 13th month bonus. And I've heard stories of Filipino VAs who felt insulted or really taken aback by the fact that their client didn't give them a 13 months bonus or pay. And I just come forward and explain ahead, I preempt this conversation and say, because we don't have it here. Now, I leave it up to the client to give you whatever bonus or whatever reward that this client feels that you've earned. But unlike in the Philippines, this is not like standard practice. So you should not be expecting this unless the client himself,
Right.
will say, you've done such a good job. You brought me a lot of business, and here's a small compensation or bonus to thank you for it.
Yes, I agree. Guys, it's not really mandatory for our clients to give us 13-month pay. So I heard some of the VAs are asking for it. So yeah, so I've heard they're just trying their luck, but they're not really required to give us that. But based on
I
my
would,
experience, usually they
yeah.
would give bonuses. Yes.
I would recommend that you discuss this during the negotiation process.
Right.
Before you sign the service contract, you talk about the system for rewards and bonuses.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, all my clients, I already tell them about the fact that this question might come up, so they will be expecting that. But it's not always the case if you get interviewed by someone else from a different platform, for example.
Okay. Christina, are you keeping track of how your VAs are performing or how those endorsements are performing like on a monthly basis?
I do it informally. So I always check on my clients and I ask them, how's it going with your VA? I hope everything's, working properly or working smoothly. I've got resources that I provide to my clients that will help them work remotely with their virtual assistants. And I always keep in touch with them to say, if you ever need any help, and if you need not an intervention as such, but if there's a cultural issue that you need help with, then I'm always here. But knock on wood, so far everything's been running smoothly, and they've just got praises for their VAs to me.
Yeah. So for this one, speaking of, since I am a social media strategist, so is there an opportunity? So aside from the lead generation, from the marketing, is there an opportunity for being specific as a social media manager?
There definitely is. Right now, I think most small business owners anywhere in the world, but also here in the UK, would agree that social media management is such a time consuming activity for their business, but it's not something that they can avoid doing. So, this is something that they know their business needs, but it's the most time consuming activity for their business. And it's a business activity that's easily outsourced and delegated to someone else. So, yes, that's my short answer to your question. There are lots of opportunities for social media managers.
Okay, thanks, Christina. And I'm already downloading the template. I'm already downloading the resume template. Let's try our luck there.
Yes. It
Christina,
might,
or yep,
yes, go ahead.
yep. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to mention the template might look a little bit wonky because that depends on what software you're using. If you're using Open Office or Google Docs or
Yeah.
Microsoft Word, but ignore what it looks like, how it's arranged on your screen, but pay attention to what it's actually asking of you. So, like your name, your short description of your profile. I noticed this a lot in the section where it says skills. What my client wants to see are, sorry, there's like feedback. What my client wants to see in the section skills are the programs that you use, the platforms that you use, the online tools that you use. They don't want necessarily to see that you're a team player or that you are. So there it is, the skills. I often get CV sent in where under the skills, instead of saying Zoom, Trello, I use Photoshop, or I use whatever Excel. I get I sometimes get really weird answers like I don't know, like I am I am a team player, or I am industrious. Those are not
Generic
skills.
ones.
Yes, okay,
Mhm.
skills. Tell me what programs you use, what tools, because you have to understand this is your advertisement to a client, and they're hiring you for the skills that you've got. Okay, that's the number one. What are your skills? Because if they're looking for a marketing VA and your skills are not in marketing, then they're not even. I'm not even going to forward your CV to my client. Okay, so that's number one. And this your education is, I would say, the least important of, what's inside your CV. Now, the reason being, I've got applications from people who studied nursing, from people who studied, I don't know, broadcasting, for example, and then they want to work as a graphic designer, for example. So there's no relationship between their college education and their skills. But that is okay, because to a client, what's number one is what's in that section. What skills do you have? Now, I do have a separate section for continuing education and training, and this is, I think, uh, tied with work experience. So first is skills, last one is education, but work experience and continuing education is second priority. I if I were to choose which one's more important, I think probably work experience, but continuing education is shows the client that it doesn't matter what really you graduated from in college. What's more important is that you have updated your skills. You have you to you it's important that you learn the latest software out there, or that you learn a more practical and usable skill. So that's really important. Some clients, sorry, some applicants, they send me and they leave it blank. They think they shouldn't be writing it there. Maybe they don't have further training. But if you're an applicant with something on there that says you took up this training course, you took up that online course, it just shows potential clients that you are a better candidate than someone else. Okay, I hope that helps.
Yep, super helpful. Thanks for the tips. Another question from Yet: do you offer both full-time and part-time jobs for VAs? And a follow-up question: is it possible for one VA to have two clients, like one full-time and one part-time?
Yes, to both. So I do offer to my clients the ability to hire full-time or part-time VAs. So you've got to understand that, as I mentioned earlier, I work with small business owners and solopreneurs. Um, they're they've got a budget to work with, and so it's not always possible for them to hire full-time VAs. Not only because of their budget constraints, but because as a small business, they do not have the need for a full-time working VA. So they don't have enough to delegate over to you. And you, as a part-time VA, can you work for more than two clients? Yes. So if in my books you're a part-time VA and I've got another client who needs you again, so I will forward your CV to another potential client with the hope that you might get that as a second job. Um, how many clients can you work with? I think try your best to work with a maximum of two clients only. I think beyond that, you will you will not do your existing two clients a good service and justice by diluting, what you can and can't do. This, of course, depends on your current situation. If you're single, you don't have any other responsibilities, you don't go to school, you haven't got family to look after, then maybe if you want, you can have more than two clients. But I think most of us will have one other responsibility, or, other personal responsibilities that we need to look after. And the last thing that you want to happen is that you burn out or you overexhaust yourself, and then you might end up losing all your clients. So it's
Right.
better to commit to and focus on two clients than more than that.
Okay. Christina,
Yeah.
are you also getting clients like, Christina, find me someone who can design the logo for me and I'll just pay him or her like one-time payment? Do you also get those type of requests?
I do, but I tend to reject them because
Okay.
like as with anything in life, you don't have to say yes to everything. You can select what you want to focus on. And I know that those clients will be one-off clients, if ever, and so it's not worth my time. I would simply help them by saying it might be better for you to go to Fiverr, or um, look at online tools to create a logo for you. If it's just a one-off thing, then I know that they're not there for the long term, and so I'd rather work with clients who are there for the long term.
Yes, definitely. So I really agree to that,
Yeah.
for those who wants just project based, right? Of course, we are looking for stability and of course long-term relationship with the client. So with that, yes, Christina, what can you advise the aspiring freelancers out there who would like to start working from home, especially those who would like to earn money while taking care of their family?
I would say do a bit of marketing exercise for yourself and for your business. And it's simply you have to know exactly what your what problem you're solving. So if you want to be a freelancer, um, what 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 problem are you trying to solve, so and where are you going to advertise your solution? So is that on Facebook? Are you going to, when I say advertise, I don't mean you pay for an ad. I mean, like, where will people find you? Okay, so are you going to be on LinkedIn, or will you be on Fiverr or Upwork? So you really need to know and be clear to yourself what it is that you can do for clients. So just on a piece of paper, write down, this is the problem that I'm solving and this is the solution that I'm offering. Then it makes it easier for you to go on Fiverr, for example, and say, the problem that I'm solving is, for example, I can manage your podcasts for you, you know, or I can run a Facebook ad, or I can manage a Facebook ad for you, or I can manage, or I can add, I don't know, 100 followers on Instagram for you, for the next 5 days, whatever it is, right? So you just need to be super clear as a freelancer, what service you're offering, and in this way, you know what problem you're solving. That's it.
Yeah, it's very meaningful, right? So it's really a journey. It's really a journey having a client, getting a client, and of course, creating a meaningful relationship with the client. And thank you so much for the input, Christina, especially having it's a different area for clients because we normally have US and then Australia. Now we get to see the outlook on what does a client from UK is looking for, and of course your process on hiring virtual assistants. So here
Yes,
is
that's
yeah.
me.
So if you want to add Christina, if please do plug your LinkedIn and your website, please.
Okay, so shall I just type it in the comment section?
I can do that for you. Don't worry.
Okay, right, I see. Right, yes, so my LinkedIn URL is linkedin.com/in /my name, Christina Osborne. And I would very much like to connect with a lot of you.
Okay, and if you want to learn more about Kita Kita Virtual Business Solution, how they work, or if your niche is there, check their Facebook page. It's Kita Kita VA.
Yes, I
So
would say it. I don't know if you can see it. It's not displaying properly, but I'm taking a personal time off from Facebook. So I did post on there that for the foreseeable future, my Facebook page will be inactive, and I would concentrate more on LinkedIn. So that's where you'll find me, on LinkedIn. Um, when my Facebook page will be active again, then I will announce that and let you guys know.
All right. Thank you so much, Christina, for giving opportunities to Filipino aspiring virtual assistants. And thank you for giving them a lot of tips as well on how they can, basically get online job or get UK clients. So, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. And I think we don't have any more questions. We're good to go. Looking
Thank
forward to
you
more
for
webinars
inviting
with
me.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much, guys.
So
Bye,
much,
Christina.
guys.
Stay safe. Bye,
Thank
Han.
you. Stay safe, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, guys.